Happy President's Birthday. It's Joe Norton. This is one of my webcasts that I decided to put together at this particular time. We've seen a lot of volatility in the market, and I wanted to address it to answer any questions that you may have thought about. Some of you that I've already met with, we've addressed them, but some of you were still waiting to meet with you and just wanted to review this current situation. Okay, we all saw a couple weeks ago, big headlines. Here's a guy about to kill himself. World shares fall to 4-month low amid U.S. slowdown and emerging market woes. Oh, it was the end of the world. And the reason I know it was the end of the world is because the media told me that, right? 24/7 news media, they told me it was the end of the world. Well, let's look at what in fact happened. Okay, we've got on the right-hand side, emerging markets. What are we talking about? We're talking about Brazil, India, China. Okay, those are the emerging markets. And again, you can freeze frame these particular charts. We've got Brazil in 2013. They had between a 2 to 6.4% GDP growth. Okay, and what's the projection for 2014 is 1.5 to 4. So that's lower than what it was. That's why that man with the gray hair was, holding his head like it was the end of the world. India, the same thing. We were 4.7 to 5, and 2014 is looking like 3.7 to 5.8. So again, we've got the 5.8, but we've got the 3.7. And we know that people always focus on the negative. China, the same thing. We're looking here at the 7.2 to 7.8 for 2013 as far as growth, but 14 looks like 6.7 to 8.6. But again, the market was focusing on that particular day on the low numbers. Let's look at what's happening with the United States, Japan, and Europe, the older civilizations. In Europe, we're looking at a positive situation here. And in case of Europe, they're shaking off recession. Many of you know I've been big on Germany. I've been saying how well Germany's been doing. And again, we're looking at positive numbers here. And in Japan, the same thing. You can see Japan's been having some problems the last 5 to 10 years, but they're looking strong. And we're looking at the United States, and believe it or not, you'd never know it from reading the newspapers, but the United States is looking much stronger. You've got 1 to 4.2% for the United States. So again, the United States is making a comeback. Japan's making a comeback. Brazil hit a rough patch. India has just modest growth, and China is trying to seek a middle ground basically, but it's slowed down from where it was. So this is as of 2/14. Remember, it was the end of the world at the beginning, the guy holding his head. The media was all over the fact when the market went down, but now here we are. Look at the right-hand side. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the 30 largest United States companies. We dipped down. If you look at 2014 into 2013 right there, you'll see the dip. We started high in 2014, then we dipped down. But guess what? We came back up. Right now, it's at 16,154. Now, some of you might say, geez, I don't know the markets. I don't understand the lingo. Let's say you had 16,154 marbles. And previously, you had, in 2009, 6,000 marbles, right? Obviously, you've got more marbles now than you had in 2009. And the media, because they've got to fill 24/7, is going to jump anytime there's any little blip down in the market, because they've got to fill that news time. Okay? There's not breaking news. We're back up to 16,000. Things are looking better. Again, I'm talking about the 30 largest United States companies. Why do people look at the Dow? They look at the Dow because it's like taking a temperature of the U.S. economy. And now we have the NASDAQ. And that's also as a 214. And you can see, my God, the NASDAQ, we were way down in the middle of 09 to 010. The NASDAQ was only about 1,000. Now it's up over 4,000. Okay, it's 42.44. So I know it's hard to believe. And the average American is saying how awful everything is. But the market is up. Now, will it stay up? Who knows? We could have world events that would take charge and we would have a market go down temporarily or for a certain period of time based on world events or catastrophes or things of that nature. But right now, things are looking very positive. And those of you that are invested with me, as I've said before, you are not day traders. You do not care from day to day what happens. You're looking for the long run. This is not money you need for tomorrow. This is money for your retirement, for kids' education, a big vacation you're planning maybe in 5 years, something like that. So what you're looking at is the collection of dividends. And many of you that have been with a client of mine for a long period of time, you can see that. Let's talk about asset class. Let's talk about who's doing well, who isn't. We can look here and we can see that, let's say, aggressive growth in 08, that did well, and then that was orange. If you just follow it like a carpet, in 08 you'll see aggressive, that was the best return. But if you look at 09, it was down towards the bottom. And you can see in 2013, we have the Russell 2000, that's smaller companies. That went down a little bit. So we can follow along and, see, for instance, cash in 08. Again, freeze frame this if you wanted to spend more time looking at this. Cash was returning in 08 1.8. It was doing very well as far as cash is concerned. Oh my, look what happened in 09. It returned 1/10 of a point. Okay? And cash has been very low if you just follow it along. 09, 2010, 2012, and we can see the cumulative way off to the corner. Cash did not do well at all. What do I mean by cash? I'll show that in a second, but I'm talking about bank accounts, money markets, things of that nature. What did perform well, and what most of you are in with me, matter of fact, I'd say all my clients to a certain extent, it might be a little bit more growth or less growth, but we're into asset allocation. We have a combination of various things. We have diversification. Now you might be conservative asset allocation, you might be growth asset allocation, but as you can see here, asset allocation always hits that middle ground. Okay, and that's where you collect your dividends, you collect your interest for your long-term growth goals. Let's talk a little about other asset classes. Here again, asset allocation. How does it do against fixed incomes? What do I mean by fixed incomes? I'm talking about bonds. We can see in 06, high yield bonds returned 11%, over 11%. And then where did they go? Oh my God, the next year went down to 07. That's usually what happens. Who's ever on top usually all of a sudden drops down. You can see treasuries in 08. They were returning well. And then the next year, we're looking here in 09, treasuries returned a negative amount. You might be saying, well, how can treasuries return a negative amount? The reason they can return a negative amount is if you had cashed in some of those prior to their completion of their dates, and you wanted to sell it, you would get less than the face value because of the fact that the treasuries were down. The interest rates are very low. Those of you that visit your bank, you're lucky to get 1% in a CD. But again, just follow along. You can hold this, and by the way, in the bottom, all of this tells you where we get the specific information from, the footnote. But you'll see asset allocation always wins the day. It's in that middle range, and that's what you want. You don't want high, high, low, low. You want that middle range. We want to collect our dividends, and we want to see growth, even if the market's down. If we're collecting our dividends, and then the price per share goes back up with your mutual funds, then you'll see a higher return. Okay, so let's talk about those annual returns. Okay, this is a little bit busy. this particular slide, but what I'm showing here is the S&P 500. Now I'm talking about the 500 largest United States companies. And I'm showing you declines versus the calendar year return. Okay? So, for instance, we have in some of that middle period when we were talking about 90 and then 2000 and then all the way over to 2008. 2008, look at that drop. You've got a negative 23%, and you ended up the year, barely coming to zero. Okay, and that was 08 when everything was really, bad. You can see in 10 and then 12, we can see positive returns. But I took this all the way back to, the 80s, and so you could see this up and down with the S&P 500, your declines and your annual return. And despite the drops, on average, about 14.5%, the returns were positive in 26 of 34 years. Again, freeze this page and look at it. Yeah, there's a lot of up and downs, but what we do is we're planning according to your timetable, not the timetable of a day trader, what your timetable is, so that we can get into the market, get our returns. We get out of the market based on your timetable, not based on what the market was doing on one particular day when a gray-haired man was holding his head because he was upset about the developing markets going down. Let's talk about those cash accounts that I talked about earlier. These are your money markets. And let's talk about the good old 90s, okay, when you used to get a pretty good income. This is $100,000 investment in a 6-month CD. You know where this has gone. Look at where things are. We're looking at 013 now. We've got a return of about $270, and we would have had a return in 06 to 2010. About 5,200, you can see that. You can see that we had, started out a good return, but again, what's been happening? We've had lower and lower interest rates, and even if you have $100,000, you're probably not beating inflation. Inflation is around 3%. So again, we have to beat, if we're looking to really achieve our purchase power value, really to be able to beat inflation so that you actually are getting a positive return, not a negative return. Because on that situation where I've got $270 on that last return way over to the right, if I put inflation in that, I have to pay taxes on it, forget it. We're looking at a big negative return. So that's why we have to put up with, if you will, the ups and downs of the market that I showed you. But again, as long as your timetable is accurate, the ups and downs, they're part of the weather. Okay? They're up and down. I know there's going to be a July. I believe it, even though we've had tons of snow. I know there'll be a July. And again, with the market, same thing. You've got to be able to put up with the up and down for the fact that you're going to be able to have a better purchase power, and that's really why you're investing in the market. You invest short-term in treasuries or money markets, things of that nature, because this is money you need tomorrow or in the next year or something like that. So again, don't get your timetables confused. What you and I invest with is long-term investment, not the short-term. Okay, I want to thank you very much. Enjoy your Washington's birthday. Many of you are off. We are not. We're busy working here with our webcast. But I did want to update you because there was such wild fluctuation in the market. Explain it a little. Please go through the slides again. You can put these on hold. You can read where we got this information from. You can also look at the different statistics that we put there and know that we are watching your investments for you. And again, we will continue to manage them as successfully as we can, and we appreciate the fact that you've put your trust in us. Thank you very much.